In its most simple sort of definition, metrology is the science of measurement, which is simple in stating, but actually is very complex in terms of actually accomplishing. The GPS, it shows that I'm sitting in the living room within 6 feet of where I am. That measurement requires us to measure time to within a billionth of a second. The ability to measure something well gives you a level of trust in what's happening in the world. You trust that when you go to the gas station and you buy a gallon of gas, it's actually a gallon. That level of trust allows you to understand the world and to function. So I got my math and physics degree from Calvin, went on to graduate school in Maryland, and then postdoc at Johns Hopkins Medical School, and then got my job at what was then the National Bureau of Standards and became the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So I've held a lot of different positions at NIST. Started as a bench scientist, worked my way up through management chain, eventually became acting director for a while between administrations, and now I am the chief metrologist. So I am the person who's supposed to be watching over the core measurement program of the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's a great privilege to interact with people from around the world, literally from many, many, many different countries. And you can see that we're all God's people. We're all working towards a universal goal. In 2018, we redefined the International System of Units. It was a major change. 67 countries that had signed the Treaty of the Meter all agreed unanimously to make the change. It's not very often you find that sort of agreement amongst the countries of the world these days, but it is good to see that people are people. As I get older and I'm sort of fading into the end of my career, what's really rewarding is to see the projects that I had a hand in starting, sometimes a decade or more ago, where a scientist came to me and said, I have an idea, and I was able to put a little bit of resources towards it, and then to see how those things have now blossomed into just truly amazing developments and advances. Well, certainly the science and math classes prepared me for my career technically, but I think the liberal arts part of the Calvin education prepared me in a lot of ways that I didn't expect as a scientist, sort of to be able to think through a problem very carefully and objectively in terms of defining what the problem really is and where we wanted to go with it. And of course, my faith that God is in control has been very important. I didn't plan to end up where I ended up. In fact, there were lots of times in my career where opportunities presented themselves and I wasn't sure I even wanted to do it. But I could see that God had put this opportunity in my path, so I decided I would go for it, and if it happened, then that meant God wanted me to do it. But I actually think there's something involved in measurements and in metrology that's very biblical. There's a lot of references in the Bible to fair trade and fair measurements and being fair to people. The fact is, there is a good answer to most technical questions, and you can trust it. And it's because God made the universe the way He did. So the more you probe it, the more you measure it, the more you understand it, the more you appreciate the beauty of it. And it really just makes it clear that God created everything, and He did it very precisely.